Gonzalez. I'm the city council member that represents, one of two city council members that represents the entire city. But South Park, and I talk about this a lot, South Park has a very, very special place in my heart, and that's because I lived here for 2 years before moving over to the Junction just over the way. And so one of the first experiences I ever had here was interacting with Officer Diaz in the back here, and I think now you're a lieutenant. But when I met you, you were an officer. You were a rank and file officer, and so I really understand the issues that this community faces. I used to live just a few blocks away on 8th and Thistle, across the street from the community center, and this place again has really, this neighborhood is really special to me. If you look around this room, you know why. This community, this neighborhood in particular, is really active, really cares about each other, really cares about this city, and we are an incredibly diverse neighborhood that really appreciates that diversity and wants to preserve that diversity. And in doing so, we understand that it's important to make sure that this community is livable, that this community is safe, because that is what our children expect from us. That's what we as neighbors expect from each other, is to help keep each other safe. And so I'm really excited about being able to lead the charge on City Council to pull together the task force that you heard Councilmember Herbold talk about last year during the budget process. I modeled that effort after a task force on public safety that we did in the Chinatown International District that has yielded a significant amount of investments in parks, in lighting, in garbage pickup, and in hiring a public safety coordinator, the first of its kind, the only of its kind in the city, and that's in Chinatown International District. And my hope is that we can capitalize on the momentum that we have in the Chinatown International District to replicate a lot of that good work that has really made a big difference on the ground in the neighborhood for that community right here in South Park. And so I'm really excited about hearing from all of you as we head into, as Councilmember Herbold mentioned, our budgeting process. I have been eager to get recommendations from this task force because I want to be able to pull together my budget packages and requests, and I assure you that South Park is at the very, very top of that list in terms of everything related to public safety and making this neighborhood safer, more walkable, and more livable. So thank you for having me, and I'm really looking forward to listening and to learning more, and I'm going to hand it over to Kathy. Yes. Great.
So Councilmember Gonzalez mentioned the South Park Public Safety Task Force. I want to introduce and hand the mic over to Gabriela Quintana to explain what that is, because it seems like a lot of people don't know, and it's really important work that's going on, so we wanted to highlight that.
Thanks, Kathy. Well, thank you. I'm Gabriela Quintana. I've been working with members of the Public Safety Task Force here in South Park. And you've already heard sort of what the goal is to give the City Council and the Mayor recommendations of the things that we can do that will improve the South Park community. There's about 12 members in the task force. I want to point a few out. Laura Suggs, Carmen Martinez, Paulina Lopez. We wanted to have a diverse representation, so we have the South Park Retail and Merchants Association, the Duwamish River Cleanup Coalition. So a lot of great people. I didn't bring my list. But yeah, if you're a member of the task force and you're here, please raise your hand. Dagmar, and we have members from the Concord Elementary School PTA are also really involved. We've met about 4 times and have come up with a really great list of things that are happening in South Park that can be addressed by the City Council. But just to give you 3 of the highlights that we'll be talking and sending recommendations about is building a strong and resilient community, which involves bringing in more City of Seattle personnel into the community, public safety, and investing in children and youth. And that's pretty much it. We will be tidying up our report this coming week, and it's been really great working with everybody. Thank you.
So before we get into the bulk of the agenda, that I wanted to highlight, there's a lot of really fantastic work that's happening in South Park and the Duwamish Valley, so I wanted to acknowledge a few of those programs to show you which staff spend a lot of their time working on your behalf. We have a Duwamish Valley Action team going on, and I believe David Goldberg, right, and Alberta, will you raise your hands? So those two, and then we have Krista as well as the third member. They represent the Office of Planning and Community Development, the Office of Sustainability and Environment, and the Department of Neighborhoods. So they're tasked with this action program, which focuses on the Duwamish Valley. We also have community engagement coordinators, and these are housed in Dawn. So I think Frank Nam is out at the table. He's back there in the corner. He supervises that program, but you have a point person, Yoon Petrie. She's on vacation, well-deserved vacation, but she is your point person if you ever need anything. She can help navigate the city for you. So there's a lot of people who are dedicated and invested in this neighborhood, and we wanted to highlight those so you know that you have people. Lastly, before we kick this off, I wanted to introduce our liaisons. This is a program that is also housed in the Department of Neighborhoods, so I believe there are 2 in the room tonight. Do you guys want to raise your hands? We have 3. So what's happening right now is because, especially in diverse communities, there's a lot of languages, so we want to make sure people can participate in real time. So that's what's going on here. So any questions before we kick off? Okay, one of the things that we heard in these emails that I mentioned, and in many conversations that have taken place, was really a focus on public safety. The 3 departments that were really called out time and time again were Parks and Recreation, that's you guys, Department of Construction and Inspection, you guys, and then our friendly officers, the police department. So how we were going to do this was, each department is going to stand up and kind of talk about what they've been doing, what they're doing in your neighborhood, and how they've been responding for a few minutes, and then we'll open it up for like 5 minutes of questions and answers to that specific department. And then after all 3 have presented, we'll open it up to general questions. So that's how we're going to work. The first department that is up is Seattle Parks and Recreation.
I'm the Director of Recreation, and I'll be sharing our 3 to 5 minutes with our Planning and Development Office. So briefly, I want to thank the Department of Neighborhoods, Kathy Nyland and Krista for really taking the emails and synthesizing it down and pulling out the key points that we wanted to address with the community based on your guys' requests and concerns. And the first was opening the community center doors for more hours. And I'm pleased to announce that we've increased the hours 32%. So we went from 46 hours a week to 61 hours a week, which puts South Park as a Tier 1 level community. And with that information to date, this is just information from the first 2 quarters, from January to June. The community visits have increased 26%. Going from around 44,500 to over 56,000 visits. And with that, we have, with the new Parks District Initiative, we've dropped all the fees starting in January for all of the drop-in programs, which means the drop-in sports programs and also the drop-in top programs. For free and accessible programs, we provided 19 free programs and 12 low-cost programs to the youth in the community. We provided 21 free programs to adults and families. And that resulted in 671 more youth being participating, and also 716 adults participating. We are going to try to revitalize our request to City Council to have free programming for youth ages 0 to 18 and 8 of our community centers. We made that request last year, and it was denied under the Parks District funding. So hopefully we'll get that back on the radar. And then the last area was the youth safety and the youth leadership. So with our late night program, we've improved the activities and the programming thanks to Cheryl Jackson Williams. We provided 103 youth paid internship programs and made a really solid partnership with our summer youth employment group. We also had provided 15 certificate-bearing training programs. So that means there's been 268 certificates earned, and areas such as food handlers permit, babysitting, personal training, etc. We've also received $60,000+ in stipends that we paid the youth in our paid internship programs. And most importantly, we have more than 2,000 young adults attending, or youth and young adults attending late night this year, which increased from 900 last year. So those are the 3 specific areas that we were asked to address, and I'm going to turn it over to the planning and development.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Eastberg, and I work in planning and development and parks, and we build your facilities and improve them, and I'm going to tell you about some of those underway right now. The South Park Community Center site, the grounds outside of the building, we're in a master plan or a site planning phase that looks at all the facilities and what we'll build long term, and we're doing this in response to the community's concerns about the play area location and to try to increase the interesting things for everyone to do. So we've been doing a lot of what we think is new, improved outreach, and we are hoping that this is going to be a new day in design. It's going to, the interior of the community center will also have improvements. In 2019, we've done an architecture and engineering study, and those, it's to maintain the building and make it function better. Duwamish Waterway Park has been going through a community-led design phase, and we have a robust plan that reflects what the community interests are there. And there's money being raised right now to build that. And there's a new park property that was purchased right next to the bridge based on the community's desire to have a plaza. And this design process is going to start in 2018, which is just around the corner. However, we know design and construction take a while. So we're working with the community to activate the site and have some activities there that are welcoming and reflect what the community's interests are in bringing folks together and having a nice, friendly space to have some programs.
So based on just listening to them and hearing reactions from the audience, we're like, ooh, it's like fireworks. So I think there's a lot of information people don't know about. People don't know what the city's doing. So a lot of it is in response to the community, which is great, but that's how we wanted to frame this conversation, is we've heard you, and we are responding. We had some things in the works, and some new things are being added. So Parks, thank you for presenting a lot of information. We're going to include all of this in the minutes that we send out, but I wanted to open it up to questions. Do people have questions specifically for Parks and Recreation? Mr. Hayes, I saw you first.
Is there any chance that plaza could be considered as a dog park, off-leash?
He speaks my language.
He's asked if there was a chance that the plaza could be considered as a dog space. Parks has just released this month the People, Dogs, and Parks plan. And in that plan is a process where a community can initiate a request for a new off-leash area. So we're asking that everyone go through that process, and it's thorough, and that it evaluates the impacts to the site and the surrounding neighborhood. So that's up. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, how do you access that? As a person who sits down in front of their computer, how do you do that?
You can find the plan online on the Seattle Parks website, I'm sure. Is that?
Okay.
And we'll help you with the entry point.
We will provide the link.
Okay.
I don't know who is.
Hey, Krista, why don't you
Hi, I am very happy about any improvements made in my neighborhood. Okay, thank you for paying attention. I'm wondering if there is information, however, or if you could provide it about the percentage of funding that is spent here for Parks and Rec as opposed to other neighborhoods.
Yeah, we could look into that. I don't have that on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, we would like to get back to you on that. You're talking about facilities improvements overall.
Well, it's one thing when you provide for a neighborhood, but I'm still curious to know